On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win in Utah without Luka Doncic to go up 2-1 in the series. And I got to pay off a bet. 3, 2. I believe in that Dinwiddie. I believe JB Brunson. I believe in Maxi Kleber. The Mavs go up 2-1. I believe in the resurrection. Luka will rise again. For I believe in the Dallas Mavericks.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can subscribe to the show and hear us letting it ride. Let the music ride today. Comment down below. Comment. We need to get over 500 comments because we got 500 comments when they lost. Got to get 500 comments when they win. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the singer, serenader, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
We just up in here worshiping, having some fun. I think I just woke up my kids. My dog's probably barking at this point. Jalen Brunson, we love you. Where is the Jalen Brunson statue going? What a night.
What an incredible night. Letting the music ride. Let the music ride a little bit. Holy cow. The Dallas Mavericks get a win. 126-118. I didn't think the Mavs could score 126 in this series. This game was so different than the other games. There's so much. There's an insane amount to talk about in this game. We'll spend the next couple of days doing it. We are a daily Dallas Mavericks podcast, 5 days a week, and we're doing all throughout the playoffs. So we'll do 7 days a week all throughout the playoffs. We will do a post game after every single show. Guys, thanks so much for finding us. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Leave a comment, like I said. Let's start with. There's so many things to start with.
Where do you want to start? Where?
I know, right? Let's start with Jalen Brunson, because that man.
Oh, man.
There are two players in the NBA right now that have over 90 points in the playoffs. Over 83 points, actually, in the playoffs. And it's Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson.
Dang.
Jalen Brunson has stepped up to this moment in a way that I didn't even think was possible. Jalen Brunson has thoroughly outplayed Donovan Mitchell in this series.
Oh, 100. Yeah, 100%.
Donovan Mitchell may have scored 2 more points than Jalen Brunson, but Brunson has been the better player, and his buckets have meant more. They have been in bigger moments. They have meant more. He has less turnovers. He has more assists, like all that stuff all together. Jalen Brunson outplaying Donovan Mitchell is insane to me.
2018 draft night, we're both in the American Airlines Center, and obviously I was eating fajitas. Obviously a lot of it was about Luka Doncic, and they draft this other guy. And with the, a top pick in the second round, they already had Dennis Smith Jr. And we're like, ooh, taking Jalen Brunson. It's just this accomplished player. Obviously I watched him a lot in college. Villanova, he played Carolina in the championship, all that stuff. I mean, arguably one of the most decorated college players of all time. Yeah. They draft him, and it's like, what's going to be his like NBA future, 6'1" guard, and that it doesn't always translate to the league whenever you're a successful college basketball player. But he gets drafted, and immediately it's Michael Finley saying, hey, this is one of these guys, we're shocked. You hear that all the time. It's like, we're shocked when he fell.
Can't believe he fell to us. Like, oh no,
that's our guy. We got our guy. And they were saying everything, and you believed it, especially when it started. And I remember one of those first conversations up in the press box with some people early that season of, hey, are we sure Jalen Brunson's not better than Dennis Smith Jr.? Like really early on. It's like, oh, I don't know. Let's just see. He's a second round pick.
He's better at some things, but blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
upside and how much better can Brunson get?
And we have watched every game of Jalen Brunson's career in the NBA. And we've said on this pod of like, I've put a ceiling on him. Like he's proving me wrong right now with this playoff series.
Yes.
I mean, people initially it was like, could he be Kyle Lowry? Could he be,
Fred VanVleet?
Fred VanVleet. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, man, I don't know. Like I was saying on this pod, like, man, 6-man seems like the highest level for him just because of size and like what he has done. And you look back at last season, I saw somebody tweet this after the game tonight saying, man, what a difference between last offseason or last postseason and this postseason. And we've referenced it on this podcast, how we talked to him at media day. And it's like, we sat there and talked to him about that and how he thought about it all offseason. He got played off the floor, both offense and defense against the Clippers last year. And now what he's doing in this Jazz series is not only making him a lot of money this offseason, but it's just raising the ceiling of what he could be for the Mavericks moving forward.
He sat and looked at us at media day and we asked him a question. We were joking around. I'm going to do this story again because there's people that didn't listen to our other show and are listeners for the first time. Maybe he sat and looked at us in media day and said, we got to be better. I got to be better about that Clippers series, about how he got played off the floor, about how he just wasn't good enough and the Mavericks weren't good enough. And now all of a sudden he is good enough and he's been better than good enough. He's been great. He's been so good in these playoffs. I mean, tonight, 31 points, 12 of 22 from the floor, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, 5 assists, 1 turnover. He didn't hit any threes, but it didn't matter because all of his buckets inside were huge. They were all big, and it felt like every time he had the ball in his hand, he was going to do something good with it, right? That confidence, the confidence that fans have, the confidence that media people have when you're watching someone, you're like, oh, I know that when that guy has the ball, something good is going to happen. That gives so much confidence to a team. Like that just allows a team to be confident in Jalen Brunson, to be confident in the offense, to be confident in what they're doing and buy into their roles because they know that what is supposed to be happening as far as the point of attack offense is going to be successful because they have trust in Jalen Brunson.
The whole team trusts him. Luka Doncic trusts him. I mean, what a relationship these two guys.
Luka may be the happiest person on the Mavs team after that game and during that game.
But you said it with the turnovers. He had 1 this game. He had 0 last game. I think.
Yeah, what a bum. He had 1 turnover this game. Couldn't follow it up with the 0 turnovers again.
But we're talking about the highest stakes of the NBA in the playoffs. In the past 2 games, he's had 72 points, 1 turnover. We're looking at this team that you're missing your primary ball handler in Luka Doncic. That we've talked about the usage rate and all this stuff, and you take him away from this team and look at like how well they've handled the ball. It's like just 8 turnovers tonight, 3 the other night. Like that's unheard of. Now, some of that is the Jazz defense and they just can't pressure anybody at all. No. But it's the Mavericks too taking care of the ball. And I mean, you can't praise Jalen Brunson enough. I was so hyped in this game. This is one of the most hyped I've been in a basketball game, like watching a game in a really long time. Like I was standing up in the living room. My wife's like checking out, like, hey, taking it. You all right? You good? Like,
the Dinwiddie dunk on Gobert.
Oh, I literally stood up and said, oh my God.
Left my seat. Yeah. I was sitting at home by myself in this office, left my seat. And I was like, I can't believe what I just looked at. But Jalen Brunson, the story about Jalen Brunson in this game is toughness. Just toughness and tenacity and coming back. 5 minutes and 10 seconds left in the second quarter. Jalen Brunson starts holding his back. He's on the ground, and we're like, wait, what the heck? Like, how is he down? And you look and Royce O'Neal pulls the Marcus Morris, the Marcus Morris 2.0, like runs at Jalen Brunson while he's going for a rebound with his elbow out and gets him in the lower back, just like full contact, elbow in the lower back. Brunson goes down. He goes to the locker room, and all of a sudden, everybody's holding their breath. Dinwiddie hits a 3. Bertans hits a couple threes, and the Mavs hold on throughout the rest of that quarter. But then Brunson came back in the second half and started the second half. But that was scary for a second there. But Brunson to come back and whatever pain he was dealing with, after the game, he said it was just pain. There's nothing really serious about it. And then he asked, what happened there? He said, Royce elbowed me in the back. I'll just leave it at that. That's all he said.
When there's one thing to be, we've seen throughout history, and obviously Royce, I'm not comparing like Bill Laimbeer or something like that, but like, you see like dirty plays or dirty players make these moves sometimes. And it's like, oh, okay. Or is that just like part of like who you are. You're just doing it out of frustration.
Or just like Gobert just with his arms. We were talking about him last pod about, hey, he just throws his arms around everywhere and he's not like dirty, but he just isn't aware of what he's doing all the time.
What makes it cheap though is when you can't guard somebody and you're just getting your lunchbox just taken from you every single day, like every single time down the floor. And Jalen Brunson's just cooking you, like literally putting you in a blender and then just serving you up in a smoothie container. Like, and then you take the cheap shot because you just can't guard him. And you just want, like, that's where it was just dirty. I mean, I don't care. We all saw the clip and, some Jazz fans were like, okay, I get he might not have a history and a past of that, but that's a dirty play. It's a cheap foul. I'll respect the heck out of him if he comes out and says, yeah, that's just not me. And I've made a bad decision in the moment and I regret it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But if not, well, have fun being suspended. If not, look forward to next game.
Yeah. So Jalen Brunson stays in.
Or it's part of his grand plan to get suspended so he doesn't have to guard Luka in game 4.
Daniel House asked about Luka and he said, next question before game 3. These wings are thinking about it. It's in their head for sure. And if you want to, I heard a lot the Jazz fans doing the refs you suck and all that. I was waiting for the complaining from Jazz fans. Mavs had 32 fouls called on them in this game. 32. Yeah. Jazz had 28 against them.
They needed to reverse the chant to Jazz, you suck instead of refs.
Jazz took 33 free throws in this game. Mavs took 31. This was a long free throw filled game, but Brunson, the toughness gets it done for the Dallas Mavericks. So much to talk about. Honestly, one of the things we have to talk about coming up is Jason Kidd and this coaching staff, because I don't think this Mavericks team is anywhere close to where they are right now if it's a different coaching staff, and we'll talk about why coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Truebill. Truebill is a new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want, need, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year on Truebill. Think about what you could do with $720, and that's just the average. You could save save more than that.
Bars. That's
a lot of Built Bars, a lot of other stuff. That's a lot of Jalen Brunson jerseys you can get. And your Truebill concierge is there for you to help you cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to do it yourself. You have a concierge that can help you cancel those subscriptions. Don't fall for any of those scams anymore where they make you sign up for a trial and then you're like, all right, I'm going to try to cancel this now. And then they're like, hey, you have to call this company. I don't want to call any company to try and cancel a subscription. Truebill will do it for you. Start canceling today at truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Right now, truebill.com/LockedOnNBA could save you thousands a year. Again, that's truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Also, want to tell you about Built Bar. I got one right here. Churro. The Churro Puff. Delicious. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, 6 grams of sugar in a bar covered in 100% chocolate with marshmallow in the middle. You see that little marshmallow if you're watching on YouTube? See that? Ooh, look at that. Delicious. Built Bars are really, really good. I eat them. I order them myself. I'm going to have to order a new box here soon. They got a bunch of other flavors as well. Double chocolate, peanut butter brownie, coconut is good. The banana cream pie. Check out all the flavors at built.com. And if you use the promo code LOCKED15, you get 15% off your entire order. That's built.com. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen for your next listen. Check out the Locked On Now podcast. It's nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from your local experts, including us. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. That's Locked On Now. All right, Isaac, this coaching staff, Jason Kidd, when he got hired, I was skeptical of him as a coach. He had not had a good track record. The Brooklyn thing, phased, like flamed out. Milwaukee definitely flamed out. There was bad stories about it all around. Didn't seem like he was, going to be a good coach. Then went to LA, had 2 years there. Everything seemed to go fine there. And then he gets hired at the Mavericks. There had been nothing really for me to say, oh, I'm very confident that Jason Kidd is going to be a good head coach. He has been incredible as a head coach this year for this Dallas Mavericks. And point to nothing other than Josh Green in this game. You and I sat on this podcast yesterday with David Locke, and one of our segment ideas, one of our segment things was, I don't think Josh Green can play anymore. Which players can't play in this series anymore? We were throwing out
especially
Conley
against Gobert.
We were throwing out Conley. We were throwing out, Davis Bertans. Josh Green was a player we both agreed, I think he can't play in this series. He's got to be able to hit some shots, and if he doesn't hit some shots against Gobert specifically, then he can't play. Josh Green, 12 points, hit 3 threes, and had 6 assists, tied for the team high. And he had a couple of steals. He had some rebounds that were big too. Josh Green made a huge impact in this game in 18 minutes.
This is why I'm not a head coach, because I mean, I wouldn't have, I was saying, I was like, yeah, especially when Rudy Gobert's on the floor. It's like, I didn't understand Kidd leaving him out there. And, even he said post-game tonight, he got some post-game love in the media session tonight. He's saying, it kind of threw him off, last game, having somebody guard him like Rudy that was playing so far off of him that it just throws you off your game. Like, whoa, I don't know what to do with the ball. And, in his shot tonight, I was on yesterday's pod saying, I can't live with Josh Green missed threes. And he comes out tonight and he hits those threes.
He made 3 out of 5. That's incredible percentage.
And we know he's a good passer. It's like, I can live with him passing the ball, like all of that, because we've seen him do it before. But just the confidence still in empowering your players is saying, hey, you got to, I mean, there's a small part of it saying, well, who else is going to play? So you got to be out there and you just better shoot it since you're going to be out there. But I'm happy for him. He had such a big impact on the game. The whole bench unit saved this entire game. And so you shout out the coaching staff, which this team, they're so well coached. It's unbelievable how connected they are. I mean, even there's a Dinwiddie angle of him having a bad game and then him just staying in it and all this different stuff. I want to take it up in a level and say, I think the front office deserves some credit too, because I don't think this win happens without the Dinwiddie KP trade. And what Dinwiddie did late in this game, what Bertans did coming off the bench and hitting those threes. I don't think they win this game if it's KP in there instead of the other two guys.
Shout out to Nico Harrison.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
That's their only Nico drop. Bertans, 15 points off the bench. He hit 4 threes. Those were huge. The Jazz had to guard him on the perimeter. They couldn't just leave him. And he had a nasty chase down block. Thomas Bertans is just a little FU in him, right? Just a little bit of I'm going to come after you. The technicals, the chase down blocks, some of his rebounds. And he hit, 4 threes. He hit 3 free throws. He only scores in multiples of 3, apparently, because he got 15 points in this game. But yeah, Davis Bertans had 15. Josh Green had 12. Trey Burke had 3 points. Sterling Brown got 2 in free throws at the end there. So
Maxi.
Bench points for and then Maxi off the bench too had 17 points. So bench points for the Mavs.
That stretch by Maxi in the first. What is this? The conspiracy theory is true. It's true, guys.
Maxi Kleber went cold, on purpose at the end of the regular season so that the Jazz would sag off of him a little bit more and let him take those open threes. And it's worked so far in games 2 and 3. The Mavs 2 wins. He went 8 of 11 from 3 in game 2. And now he goes 4 of 5 from 3. I mean, he's 12 of 16 in the last 2 games from 3.
I mean,
back to the coaching staff. That's confidence in the coaching staff too of Maxi Kleber to keep playing him, to not say, hey, maybe don't take those, maybe just drive. They kept empowering him. You saw the whole team keep empowering, and that comes from the top down. That came from Jason Kidd empowering everybody from top to bottom on this roster, and that created a culture of empowering everybody else. Jason Kidd and the coaching staff has done an incredible job.
11 threes by the guys off the bench, and I mean that's just
oh my gosh.
That's why, I mean, we were sitting on
the Jazz hit 9, their whole team.
We were sitting on this pod yesterday with David Locke, and Locke was like, hey, what's the game plan for Dallas to win another game? It's like, hey, they got to chuck the threes, right?
He said, surely they can't hit threes like they did in game 2.
But the reason why without Luka, you only have so many options. But the reason why we sat on the pod, chuck the threes, shoot, let it fly. Yeah, they attempted 42 tonight.
42.
And it's because they are getting uncontested threes so much that I will play the percentages these are good shooters. Reggie Bullock, we're not really getting any of the hate Reggie Bullock tweets anymore, are we? No, because this dude, they signed a 44. I
apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
They signed a 44% 3-point shooter in the offseason.
Hold on, can we?
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
That drop is from the beginning of the regular season when Reggie Bullock was just played 17 minutes in a game. Reggie Bullock is now leading the NBA in minutes in the playoffs.
That's incredible.
That's kind of wild. So, hey, we've been wrong about stuff. We were right about that.
we've been wrong about a lot of stuff. But Reggie and Dorian, these guys, Maxi, they're just, they're getting uncontested 3-pointers. So why not chuck them up? And they did tonight, and they hit a lot of them.
Continuing with the coaching staff, the big moment in this game that everybody's going to be talking about is 5 minutes and 33 seconds left in the third quarter, and the Jazz decide to go small. They had played Gobert and Whiteside, at least one of those two, or I guess one of those two, at all times throughout this series, all however many minutes. They decided to put Eric Paschall in. It's the first time he's played this entire series. They put him out there, and the Jazz go small for the first time. The Mavericks are up 83-66. At the end of the third quarter, the Mavs were up 97-91 at that point. The Jazz went on a 25-14 little stretch there after they decided to go small. And continue with praise to the coaching staff. That was a look that was just destroying the Mavs. And the Mavs figured out a way to defend that. And the Mavs continued to play what they were doing, to get Dinwiddie some downhill drives into the paint. And they changed their game plan just a little bit in order to win when the Jazz were like dominating with that look.
And I didn't think that Snyder, I'm trying to think of the podcast friendly phrase for this. I didn't think Snyder had the I guess stones.
The cojones. We'll take the Tim McMahon word.
There you go. To do that. And we said on this pod it felt like 2 months before the playoffs saying we want Utah. Like, I want Utah.
Yeah.
Mainly a lot of it because I didn't think that I didn't want the bad city, because I didn't think they would ever bench Rudy. And it's like, I will take the advantage. Like, I will take this team against a Rudy Gobert, Jazz team.
Well, they didn't really.
Well, they did, in a sense of they always alternated Whiteside and Rudy's, minutes. And then the moment that they brought Eric Paschall in, and it's like, whoa, okay, they're really going small. And that's when they run on the run. They were more efficient there. How much the space, we'll talk more about it tomorrow night's pod, but the space Donovan Mitchell had whenever they had those four guys out there. He was getting layup after layup.
He was awful before that.
Yeah. Bertans can't guard anybody on the perimeter at all, but it just gave him so much space. And then in the fourth, they started with Paschall again. Then they brought Rudy back in. Then they took Rudy back out, but Paschall back in. And it's like, they obviously are like tinkering with something. And I was kind of surprised they went. It shows how desperate they are already.
Absolutely. It's wild that look, but giving credit to the coaching staff, they found out a way to beat that look too. And didn't let the Mavs didn't let it get rattled. And it's because this Mavs team has been so good at coming back from being down 10, being down 15, down 20 at times this season. They have come back. And that's a resilience that when the Jazz are throwing their punch back, they're like, hey, we're going to give you this different look that you didn't even expect. Or we're going to go small. Donovan Mitchell's finally going to explode. He's finally going to go off. We're going to punch you in the mouth. And then the Mavs are like, we're used to this. We're used to being down and feeling like we're back on our heels. And they came back and won this game. It's insane. Coming up, we got a lot more to talk about with this game. What did Spencer Dinwiddie do at the end of this? Got to give him some credit. Got to talk about how he was effective and more. But before we do that, let me tell you about Shady Rays. Cue the Isaac getting mad that I still haven't given him his sunglasses yet. But Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. You can get your own pair. Use the code LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for their best deal of the season. And the coolest thing about Shady Rays is they have this protection program. It's called Lost and Broken Protection on every single pair. They will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happens. So give them a try. Try out the Lost and Broken Protection if you do lose them. But you won't want to, because you want to look good in them. Summer's coming, guys. Get your Shady Rays. Promo code LOCKEDON at shadyrays.com. All right, Isaac, the Dallas Mavericks get this win. Spencer Dinwiddie. There were moments in this game where I was like, this is Spencer Dinwiddie's time. When the Jazz went really small, when they took out Gobert and Whiteside, I was like, all right, this is Dinwiddie's time. Brunson is, still going to be effective, but this should be Dinwiddie's time. He had struggled before that point. He was just 3 of 16 from the field through like a little bit of the fourth quarter, but he gets some big baskets down the stretch. He finished the game with 20 points, 6 assists, and all those assists were huge. When the Mavs didn't have anything else going, when Brunson was out of the game, when he was hurting, when he was back in the locker room, Dinwiddie had a couple of assists. I think both of those Bertans threes at the end of the first half were from Dinwiddie drive and kicks. Those mattered. His buckets mattered. 6 of 7 from the free throw line mattered. Only 2 turnovers from Dinwiddie, so that improved from the game before. I thought he was a +8 in the plus minus. A good game from Dinwiddie despite only going 6 of 21 from the field.
10 points. 10 of his points tonight was in the fourth quarter. And
huge.
We were talking to him earlier about Dinwiddie, and when you have a team like Gobert, Dinwiddie excels offensively whenever he can drive to the basket. Well, if Rudy Gobert's not out on the floor, then it's like, all right, well, what gave the Mavericks a little trouble was then it took away some of their 3-pointers. When they went small and they took Rudy off the floor, then they stopped dropping on some of these picks. They started hedging more. They were faster, obviously, so then they could close out faster. Therefore, taking some of the threes away from the Mavs and pushing the Mavs to be a little bit more ISO heavy. Well, that's where Spencer Dinwiddie comes into play, and that's why it's like, man, if we didn't have Dinwiddie in this game, especially at the end of that game, what was happening? He was targeting Donovan Mitchell. They were bringing up Mitchell.
Yeah, every time.
This happened all throughout the game. Brunson did this in the first quarter. The most telling thing was when whoever was Rudy Gobert's man started to come up. Brunson's like, no,
not you,
Reggie. And he calls for Reggie to come up to get Brunson, and then he torches Mitchell there. But Dinwiddie was taking advantage there of Mitchell in the fourth quarter, had 10 points there in the fourth. Obviously had the massive, detonation on Rudy Gobert's head. But I was happy for him because it was a bad, efficient shooting game for him leading up to that point. And for him to just stay in the game, keep his head in it, and then have some big buckets late was massive.
There's some big stats in this game we've been watching, like the 40 points. Donovan Mitchell, I think I'm going to up it to 35 points. If he gets more than 35 points, then the Mavs are in trouble. But he had 32 in this game, only 32. Our friend Jake Kemp, friend of the pod, sent me this stat. He said I heard about David Locke referencing shot quality index, like the shot quality, like the quality of shots that the Mavs and the Jazz were getting. The Jazz outperformed their shot quality by 10.3%. Their 6th highest quality impact of the season. Teams don't usually lose games when they're having 10% higher shot quality than normal. Their shots were very, very good, is what we're saying. The quality of looks that they got, especially with that smaller lineup. But Jake points out, and this is a great point by him, the Jazz only took 69 shots.
Nice.
The Mavs took 83 shots. Like that difference right there. They tied in rebounds. So everybody that's been thinking about rebounds all the time, the Mavs and Jazz tied in rebounds tonight.
They still didn't win the rebounding battle, and they still won, by the way.
The Mavs got 6 offensive rebounds. The Jazz only got 1. So
That's a huge stat.
They didn't give them extra possessions. The Jazz only took 69 shots. Only 28 threes from the Jazz, too. Still keeping them under 30 when they averaged 40 threes a game. We can't say that stat enough. The Jazz averaged 40 threes a game in the regular season. They only
Second in the league.
They only took 28 in this game. It only took 69 shots. A lot of that is because they took a ton of free throws. And so when you take free throws, a lot of them are on shooting fouls and all that. And so they didn't take as many shots. But the Mavs limited those attempts, which is huge. I mean, what did they take? They took 14 more shots than the Jazz? That's wild.
Yeah. You look at second chance points, too. I mean, we that's one of the things we've been looking at.
We wrote off that stat, said it doesn't matter for the Mavs.
And points in the paint, too. They lost points in the paint, 56-42. But second chance points has been a big one over the past few. Dallas won that tonight, 14-5. Like Utah, you said the stat a while ago. That was the most telling thing. Like we know how, if you've been listening, you know how we feel about the rebounding thing. It's kind of overhyped. But 1 offensive rebound for them and only 5 second chance points for Utah tonight. Yeah. Massive. I mean, that's huge stat to have. Yeah,
Gobert finally had like a good offensive game. He had 15 points, but he only had 7 rebounds, and none of them were on the offensive end. Like that, his impact was way different in this game offensively.
Rudy Gobert played under 30 minutes tonight. He was a -16 in the game. And if you're in the Rudy Gobert like fan club,
who would be in that fan club?
Tough night.
Not somebody we know.
I mean, I really do wonder like what this does to especially the Mavs and like front office. Like, do you watch this game and then does it change anything? Does it like, Or do you look at this game and say, oh, we would use you better type thing? But it's going to be a kind of a soft sell to a fan base if they do go out and try to get him this offseason, saying, hey, our prize addition to this team was the guy that we played off the floor. So anyway,
there's so much we could talk about with that, but man. Oh, so we got to give out the award that everybody covets, the hot play of the game.
Hot man, the hot player.
Maxi Kleber, because he said hot player twice in his post-game press conference.
He also said let it
man,
fly.
the hot player.
You almost need to clip him saying let it fly.
Oh, let it fly.
Yes, sir. That's what you do.
Shout out to Dirk being in the bad city on the sidelines. He was there courtside.
Him and Jessica and Finn
and gave us an incredible GIF that I've been tweeting out all night. I love it.
Whole crew. Tim Cato with an incredible tweet tonight about the crowd looking like Taco Bell hot sauce packets.
They went with the different colored shirts in each section, which I'm okay with, but then they did look like Taco Bell hot sauce packets because the colors were like the orange and the red.
Donovan Mitchell trying to be Dwayne Wade and falling down so much tonight. That was, the Mavs. Okay, let's just be honest. The Mavs winning this game took a lot of the heat off the refs from our angle because there were some brutal moments tonight with officiating
against both teams. Really, I thought that they were not good overall. The Jazz crowd was yelling, "Refs, you suck." There was a ton of fouls called in this game. What was there? 50 fouls? No, 60 fouls called in this game.
Oof.
That's a lot. 60 fouls, 64 free throws. This is a long game where a lot of things happen. But the Donovan Mitchell foul from Dwight Powell that he was on the floor holding his head like he got hit in the head was that was egregious. And for them to review that and to not reveal the Royce O'Neal elbow in the back against Brunson was that was questionable. That had me thinking about had Donaghy vibes on it.
The Royce O'Neal one I got a text from a friend of mine that said gave him Andrew Bynum, JJ Barea vibes.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that. I'll give Royce credit. It wasn't that bad.
But zooming out for a second, just bigger picture heading into Game 4. We'll obviously have a pod tomorrow, but it's an early tip there in Utah, 3:30. All the pregame talk and even in-game talk by the broadcast and everything was about the optimism around Luka Doncic heading into Game 4 and all of that. But I think tactics-wise, I think the biggest question for Utah is how desperate are they to go small? Because there was something there tonight for Utah. There was. And it did scare me a little bit of if you're willing to go there, it does change Dallas's game plan. It does take away some of their threes. Can they get to 43s if they're playing small? It gives more space to Donovan Mitchell. And do they just have the cojones to put, Rudy Gobert and Whiteside on the bench? I don't know.
And what it did was a lot of people were talking about, oh, well, they took out Rudy Gobert and all of a sudden their defense and Rudy Gobert was hurting their offense. Rudy Gobert was really hurting it wasn't really about the defense to me. He was hurting their offense.
There was some moment there. Yeah. It does when Rudy's out there, it does allow them to get more open threes.
The defense on the perimeter is what's killing the Jazz.
Yes, but
it's not just because they have Rudy Gobert and they built their defense around him means that they have a bad defense, right? I see some people trying to make that point, and I don't think that's what it is.
No.
Donovan Mitchell's been so bad. Conley's been so bad defensively that Rudy has to cover up a bunch of stuff. And so then on offense, they can't take advantage of anything from him as far as, anything, all the stuff Luka does with Dwight Powell, they can't do that stuff with Rudy Gobert. And he's a way better, bigger finisher, bigger catch radius, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and they can't throw the ball to catch it, so
they can't take advantage of any of that. It's been wild. But so what it did was when they took Gobert off the floor, it allowed driving lanes for Mitchell, and he finally had a good game. He hadn't had a good shooting game. He had been shooting 30%, 31% from the field in the first couple of games. And this one, he was 10 of 21, didn't take 30 shots for the first time because he actually went to the line and all that. But yeah.
and they were targeting Brunson late too.
Yeah,
on offense, but a nod to the coaching staff. They started targeting Brunson, and what did the coaching staff do? They started trapping. They started bringing a second guy over to trap and get the ball out of Donovan Mitchell's hands. It resulted in turnovers, missed threes, and kid is adapting on the fly, and it's working so far.
Gut reaction now after Game 3. The Mavs are up 2-1. They play Saturday. Does Luka play Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I was very adamant that he wasn't playing game 3. If y'all been listening.
But he warmed up. He spoke to the media again. He like all that kind of stuff. I think is more positives towards he's progressing in the right direction. Except for Woj had to come in with his pessimism.
Well, yeah, I was not. Yeah, 99% that he was not playing game 3. No. This one's the first one I'm saying. I think he's playing in game 4.
Wait. Do we have to do?
Doncic, saucy.
And then Jason Kidd.
So I want to, be able to touch the car.
Soon. The return of it soon. Let's leave with this.
Great vibes, man. Just great vibes. Like great vibes. Yeah, great vibes. No, sensational vibes. And like the vibes are immaculate.
Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Your next listen should probably be Locked On Jazz today. Go listen to Locked On Jazz.
I'm going to listen.
I'm going to go listen because I want to know what he thinks. He knows Quinn Snyder maybe better than anybody. Like anybody in the media, David Locke knows Quinn Snyder and knows what he thinks about things. And I'm really curious to see what he thinks about Rudy Gobert. So go listen to Locked On Jazz today. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.